Right, back with another video now. Bit of a predicament. Okay, so I'm back in the Mark 6 Cabriolet. Obviously it's been off. It had what I suspected was the master cylinder, what the AA man suspected was the master cylinder, to then be told that it was the slave cylinder. And on a 6-speed Volkswagen engine, the slave cylinder is in the bell housing, so the gearbox has to be dropped out of the car. That was my worst fear anyway. I was just hoping that it wasn't going to be that. Anyway, so it's now Friday. I get a call. I got sent pictures on Tuesday, the gearbox on the floor, car up in the air. I'll add those in. And on Wednesday, got a message to say that the car was done. You can come and collect it. I said, right, well, I'll be down at 2 o'clock to pick the car up. I'll be on my lunch at 2 o'clock. I'll leave the keys on the wheel for you. Fine, fair enough. I turn up at his yard, windows halfway down. So that's a bit, why would you leave a window open with the keys on the wheel? What's going on? So he comes out and says, oh, your battery keeps going flat. I'm like, what? What do you mean the battery keeps going flat? I've never had that issue before in the past. Yeah, your battery keeps going flat. That's why the window's open, so I get the bonnet open if I need to put a jump pack on. Now the thing is with a Cabriolet, let me just, you go down here. There's the release catch for the bonnet. You can't open it because it catches on the door. On other Mark 6s that aren't Cabriolet, it sticks out. Yes, you can open it, but you've got no way of opening that because of the thickness of the door. He obviously didn't realise that. Then I pressed the unlock button on the key and it did nothing. It flashed like that, didn't do anything. Unlock, didn't do anything. And I was like, well, what's going on here? The car at the time was pointing up a slope, a steep slope, with the nose facing upwards. So I get into the car and I put the key into the ignition. And it went in fine. No issues whatsoever. Took it out. To demonstrate this, I'm going to have to... So you turn your key, come back out, listen. That click wasn't there. And obviously that last click is the micro switch telling the car to shut down, turn the radio off, etc. So the radio was staying on, which is why the battery was going flat. Now, I know what the issue was. There's build-up of rubbish in the ignition barrel, but he offered no solution. He was just like, well, not my problem. I was like, well, it happened while it was here with you. Have you got no solutions? No, mate, I haven't. I'll get back onto that one in a moment. Then I turn on my ignition and on the dash, it flashes up with oil sensor workshop. Again, I'll put a video in here now. Oh, the joys. Oil sensor workshop. It's not the oil sensor. It's not the oil sensor. Oil temperature's not plugged back in after having the cam belt, after having the slave and master cylinder done. So we're parked on a slope. The car hasn't moved for a while. So it's got no oil in it, mate. That's why your light's on. I was like, I don't think so. I think there's a problem. No. It goes around to the front of the car while I'm still sat in it. Bonnet goes up, pulls out the dipstick. Dipstick's dry. Remember? Car's parked on an angle. Dipstick's at the front of the sump. No, there's no oil in it. So there must have been, because I checked it before I dropped it off to you. It was full. It was on the top level. No. So he goes running off, comes back with a litre jug of oil and tips the whole thing in and goes, there you go, should be fine now. Turn the ignition on, lights flashing again. He's like, oh, it'll go off once you've driven it a little bit, it's just got to get the oil pressure up. I was like, he's talking crap. There's something that's not plugged in. So anyway, I'm driving along the road and I flick through my multifunction display just because I do, and the oil temperature just dash, no oil temperature. Okay, I'll give it a minute just to get warmed up a little bit. By the time I get home, which is a 5-mile drive, still no oil temperature. Plugged in my Carista OBD reader, and again I'll insert a picture here. So yeah, he's not plugged the oil sensor back in on the bottom of the sump. What kind of mechanic doesn't check their work before handing the keys over and making sure that that car is in the same condition it was in when they brought it to them? Disgusting, absolutely disgusting. Now we're going to move around under the bonnet. You've seen under my bonnet before, those of you that have been around for a while. It's nice, it's clean, it's tidy. What's wrong with this picture? Battery tray, cover's not on. I'm sure you all know that that is supposed to sit up the inside of this tray so that you can put the lid on and click it down. No, it's all bent out of shape. This battery, filthy. Wasn't like that when I took it into him. It's disgusting. So I've now got to disconnect the battery and put the plastic back around it correctly because he's an idiot. This, yeah, fair enough. This tape on here, that's me. That's not how I left it. That should be up further onto there. Bigger gap. It's bent the bracket that it sits on underneath to hold it up. So I've got to sort that out. Heat shield. Heat shield's missing. Oh, I don't know where it is, mate. I might have thrown it in the bin. And it's just, what kind of mechanic can't put an engine bay back together? This was all covered in oil. It is, yeah, fair enough. It's dusty, but it was covered in oil. Fingerprints all over it and all sorts. So I ring him up on Wednesday afternoon and said, how are we going to resolve this issue? Bring it back to me tomorrow morning. I must have forgotten to plug a sensor in. No shit. I know you've not plugged the sensor in. You must know you've not plugged the sensor in. Anyway, Thursday morning, I go down to him and I'm greeted with, have you got the rest of my money? Because I only paid him, what, 2/3. Oh, I only paid him 2/3 of the money before lifting the car up because I couldn't get as much out of the cash machine. I said, no mate, I haven't got the rest of your money. I've not had a chance to go to the cash machine to get that money out. I've dropped my daughter off at school. I've come straight up to you. Oh, right. Oh, fuck's sake. Gets it up on the ramp. Now, on a cabriolet, you don't have a plastic undershield. They have a metal one for extra stability. So he gets it up on the ramp, takes out the back line of bolts that hold it in place, and pulls down on this sheet of metal. Fair enough, if it was plastic, yes, you could probably pull it down just to get the sensor back wire back in. And he had to lean on it to pull it down, and then plugged the sensor in, pushed it back up, which has now bent the whole of the front of the under tray. And I'm just standing there going, what are you doing? It was 6 extra bolts. Could have just dropped the whole thing down and done the job properly. I get back in the car after he's done that. Ignition barrel sticks again. So what I've actually been out today and got is some silicone lubricant. WD-40 and stuff like that will not sort it out. It just makes it more gummed up. I've had this issue before and I've done it in a video. If you ever pull your key out the ignition and the radio doesn't go off, it's because there's a micro switch that is stuck in the ignition barrel. Let me see if I can demonstrate to you which one it is. I have to turn that on and back off. If you look in that ignition barrel, you see that white bit sticking out? That gets gummed up. That's the final micro switch in the ignition barrel. If that doesn't return when you take the key out, the car won't know. The car won't know that the key's been taken out of the ignition, which will stop the car from locking on the key. It will keep the radio on, and yeah, it'll make the battery go flat. So, silicone spray. You spray it in there, and you'll see it fizz when you spray it in there, and it cleans it out. Because obviously on your key, like mine's all nice and clean now, it gets gunked up with dirt, and that dirt is going backwards and forwards over those micro switches. So to avoid it ever happening, keep your key clean with silicone spray, and just spray a bit of silicone into the lock barrel, and it will sort it out. Also, I think he dropped these keys because when I took this to him, this blade was tight, and now this blade is wobbling around all over the place. I can't, it's hard for me to demonstrate on camera and hold the camera. You see how it's wobbling? And I've just had a look in the key, and it looks like the pin in there isn't in there. So the predicament I am now in, do I pay him the rest of the money? Or do I just forget about it? He was bottom of my list from reputation as mechanics around where I live anyway. But he was my only option to get this car back on the road this side of the new year. So I'm left stuck now with, I want to do the right thing. I want to pay him. I've paid him a fair whack of the money. But I've got to do work to the car myself now to get it back to the condition it was in when I took it to him. I've got to sort my key blade out. I've got to sort the engine bay out. I've got to clean all that up. I've got to reconnect the battery, which means I'm going to have to recode the battery to the car because of the stop-start system. Fortunately, I've got a Carista, so I can do that, but I shouldn't have to do that. And his final words when I drove away were, oh yeah, we rushed it so we could get it done for you. No mechanic should ever say, we rushed a job. It's disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. And I won't be going back to him again for any work that I need doing on this car. Anyway, rant over. See you all in the next one.